This is Glow in the Dark Radio. The science fiction podcast with original independent science fiction written and performed by Mike Luoma, with music by Kevin MacLeod. The Vatican Assassin Trilogy and The Adventures of Alibi Jones by Mike Luoma are available in ebook, trade paperback, and audiobook wherever you find your books online. Get links and details at glowinthedarkradio.com. This is the science fiction podcast, Glow in the Dark Radio. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma, and I've got Chapter 2 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her coming up on this episode. Now, Alibi Jones has been through a lot, and I'm not just talking about what's gone on in the first novel and first 3 short stories we've gone through so far, as we've gone through the Adventures of Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus. But since vacation, Alibi and Katie went to Kit and his bride Trish's wedding. But things didn't go well. Thugs working for crime boss Rene Laveillur violently interrupted the ceremony to take Katie prisoner. Laveillur feels like he owns her. And during the raid, many Dakhur were killed, including Kit's bride, Trish. Rubbing his nose in it, Laveillur's right-hand man, Peterson, just appeared unannounced in Alibi's apartment on Cat's Eye, warning Alibi to forget about Katie Ramsey and don't even think about setting foot on Laveillur's world of Kismet. Alibi would find it to be lethal, like those poisoned old Eldred worlds. And that's where we'll pick things up as we get into Chapter 2 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her on Glow in the Dark Radio. A big thank you to patrons. You should be getting this episode early this week, if all goes according to plan. If you'd like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio to learn more and maybe sign up. You can do it for $2, $5, or $10 a month, and it helps support the podcast and pay for websites and all the rest. So it helps me do what I do. So thank you very much to our patrons. And again, if you'd like to become one, we'd love to have you. Wanted to let you know or remind you that Smashwords Read an eBook Week is coming up with its annual sale. That'll be March 2nd through the 8th, 2025. March 2nd through the 8th at smashwords.com. The ebook for the book that we've got on the podcast, The Sunrise of Her, Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her, the ebook for that will be free that week at Smashwords. And the big books, the new books, are all half price, the $4.99 titles. Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus, the Vatican Assassin Trilogy under one cover, and the Star-Lord and the Guardians of the Galaxy Unofficial Comic Book History, which is $4.99. All 3 of those are going to be $2.49 all week long. So again, you can just go to Smashwords and look for Mike Luoma or Alibi Jones or Vatican Assassin or Star-Lord, etc. Or just follow the link in the show notes. The Smashwords Read an eBook Week sale coming up March 2nd through the 8th. We'll get into Chapter 2 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her next on Glow in the Dark Radio.
Hi, I'm JC. My co-host Cindy and I host the Fix It Home Improvement Podcast. We cover projects that every homeowner should know and top-rated products for home and garden. And for fans of Mike, we keep you posted on new smart home systems and products like robot vacuums and robot lawnmowers that seemed like science fiction not too long ago. You can check it out on your favorite podcast app. It's Fix It, F-I-X-I-T, Home Improvement.
here's Chapter 2 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her on Glow in the Dark Radio. Alibi leaves his apartment, late for work. He glances up and down the corridor again, as if Peterson might be loitering somewhere nearby. With a shake of his head at the thought, Alibi begins his walk to the SAIF Mediation Corps office on Cat's Eye. Office hours. Fuck. For the first year Alibi worked for the Solar Alliance Interplanetary Force Mediation Corps, Alibi had no idea the Mediation Corps even had an office on Cat's Eye. Mbeke, the late John Paul IV, ran the agency back then. He didn't require Alibi to check in every day. Alibi usually worked in the field, not in an office. When not on distant worlds conducting and facilitating negotiations, Alibi used to work out of his apartment and his ship. But since Mbeke's been gone, a more traditional command structure has been in place. Colonel Brandywine is in charge, and Alibi is required to head into the safe base at the starport to put in office hours every morning when he's not away on assignments. He trudges in through the lobby of the safe office building and rides an elevator up to the 3rd floor. The Mediation Corps office is 2 rooms, tucked away near the back of the building. The smaller of the 2 rooms is his. Its 4 drab white walls not even broken up by a window. Alibi resents having to come into the place every day. As a sort of protest, he's done nothing to personalize his office. The only furnishings are a desk, a chair, and the comm unit. As Alibi enters the office, the comm alert light is blinking. Its red pulsing glow is the only color in the room.
No chance to settle in.
Comm on. SA Mediation, Jones speaking. Jones, it's Brandywine. You're late. The angry woman's voice echoes out into the office.
Great.
Sorry, Colonel. Busy getting threatened by gangsters, Alibi says. What? Never mind, Alibi apologizes. Sorry, ma'am. Won't happen again. That's what you said the last time you were late, Jones, and the time before. Whoa, ma'am, would you believe it? Another call coming in. Gotta go mediate, sorry. Joe! Alibi switches off the comm, cutting off communication. He enjoys the silence.
Oh, Mbeke, why did you have to go and die, old man?
Alibi thinks back to better days. The Mediation Corps used to answer to the Pope of the New Catholic Church, known to Alibi as old family friend Mbeke, but known to most others as Pope John Paul IV. He was a man who liked to laugh, even as he ran the Corps with a shrewd mind and a stern hand. As he remembers him, Alibi can almost hear Mbeke laughing in his head. Alibi chuckles in spite of himself. After a few minutes of peace, the comm lights up again.
Brandywine, leave me the Oh, Ananita.
Alibi? Hey, Ananita, how are you? Well, I'd be better if I wasn't hearing from the Secretary of the Interplanetary Force about my wayward ward, she says, her voice heavy with disappointment. Alibi, look, I know you miss Mbeke, and you've been through a lot in the last month. But you've got to take your job more seriously, Alibi. Colonel Brandywine has filed several informal and now 2 formal complaints with the Secretary, and then the Secretary complains to me. What's going on, Allie? You used to be one of the best in the Corps. Mediators don't need office hours. Alibi spits out the words. He has to remember not to shout as he stares down at the comm light. He's not angry at his aunt.
She hasn't done anything wrong.
The long-distance link over the light years is audio only. He rolls his eyes, but tries to sound more calm than he feels as he continues. He fails. Brandywine is a bureaucratic ass, Alibi says. She knows nothing about mediation and makes up for it by overcompensating on official red tape chicken shit bullshit. Alibi Jones, I will not have you talking to me like that. Anita chastises him over the comm link. Even if you are right about the woman. She is your commanding officer, she says. You must learn patience, Allie. Patience for idiots and fools? He asks. For them especially, she says. It's an important skill. One I had to master to get anywhere in politics. She chuckles. Good thing I'm not planning a career in politics, Alibi says, sounding smug. Life is politics, Alibi, she corrects him. You're in the military.
You're surrounded by politics. If you get labeled a troublemaker, your life will be miserable, she advises him. Do be more careful. You're no longer in Mbeke's mediation corps. You're part of the SAIF. Best to play by their rules, however idiotic and foolish you find them.
Great, Alibi replies half-heartedly. I'll try on Anita. I will. It's for your own good, Alibi. I know. But that's not why I called, she says. No? No, she sighs. I almost hate to bring it up. But we've heard from the Dakhur. She pauses. I don't know how to ask this delicately, Ali. Do you remember the tiara Trish wore at the joining ceremony? Alibi pictures the shining gold crown with its blood-red jewel.
Blood for blood.
I do. Kit said it was the sunrise of her, I think. Yes, that's it, Anita says. Well, it's a very important artifact for the Dakhur. Yeah, Kit told me. Said his father was able to get it for the ceremony as a diplomatic favor or something like that. Yes, well, it's missing. Missing? Since the ceremony, she says. But the Dakhur are just announcing its absence now. A month later? They have been trying to find it on their own, without success. Now they're reaching out to us through diplomatic channels. They've asked that we try to keep it quiet, but they'd like us to try to help them find it. They must be getting desperate, Alibi notes. Indeed, Anita agrees. We're looking at it as an opportunity to get back in the Dakhur diplomatic family's good graces. Which leads me to my next point. Alibi is still stuck on the point at hand. Their good graces? They delivered Katie right into Laveillur's hands, he protests. Their good graces? That's not how they see it, and you know it, she admonishes him. For the first time in their history, the Dakhur invited humans to join in one of their ceremonies, she says. That invitation led to the death of several Dakhur and the apparent theft of one of their treasures. Whether you like it or not, Alibi, it was a major diplomatic incident. We lost someone too, he says, and the attackers were Dakhur. Dakhur working for a human, she points out. An uncomfortable silence hangs between them. A minute goes by that seems far longer. Fucking Laveillur, Alibi says, finally breaking the silence. His aunt lets the cursing slide this time. He is a powerful and dangerous man, Ali. Please tell me you'll stop provoking him. We're trying all legal means possible to get her back. You know that. Legal means? The guy is his own country, his own planet. The SA can't touch him legally. There are ways, Alibi, Anita says. You're the second person today to warn me off Laveillur and Kismet, Alibi tells his aunt. One of Laveillur's guys showed up in my apartment this morning, told me to stay away from Kismet and to stop asking questions about Katie and Laveillur. Alibi, his aunt gasps. She raised Alibi from the time he was 3 years old. At times like these, the mother in her comes out. You should stay on the safe base. I'll be fine, Aunt Anita. Just gotta stop poking around about Laveillur and Kismet. At least for a little while. Well, then it's good I called, she says. I've managed to convince the Secretary of the Interplanetary Force to put you on a special assignment. You are going to look for the sunrise of her. Really? He asks. Won't that put me right back in Laveillur's way? Provoke him? No, his aunt replies. I don't think so. Laveillur has sworn to the Dakhur that his men did not take the tiara when they grabbed Katie. Says if they did, it was not at his order. She sighs. Laveillur is not the subject of your investigation. You won't be looking for the tiara on Kismet. That's probably wise after what I was told this morning, Alibi says with a nervous laugh. But you do know that's probably where it is, right? Well, she says, Laveillur insists he doesn't have it. He's given his word to the Dakhur that it's not on his world, Anita says. And I don't think he'd risk an incident with the Dakhur.
She pauses. Are you certain you don't remember anything about the tiara from the ceremony? She asks. I was knocked out too soon to see what happened to it at the time, Alibi says. But who else was there to grab it? There were Dakhur on their side. They would have known it was a cultural treasure. The Dakhur point out that Laveillur has been honest about reclaiming Katie, Anita says. They take him at his word. You should too, she says, and then sighs a heavy breath. I want you to look for the tiara, Alibi, but please, stay away from Laveillur. What if it ends up being on Kismet? Alibi protests. If you think it is, tell me. We'll send someone else in, she answers. Right. Brandywine is going to love this, Alibi says, thinking out loud. She already thinks I get too much special treatment. I think that's why she assigned me office hours. Try to make me more ordinary. Well, we both know that won't work, Anita jokes, trying to lighten the mood. You'll answer to me on this assignment, Alibi. Colonel Brandywine won't have any say over the matter. Great. You know this means I'll be getting another lecture on the chain of command. Your attitude gets you your lectures, Alibi. You're giving Brandywine reasons to go looking for excuses to make your life difficult. So it's all my fault? Usually is. She laughs. She gets serious again. You'll have to get moving. I could only get you a week for this, Allie. A week? That's no time at all. Guess you'd better get busy then, Alibi. She signs off. Alibi sighs. He looks over at the clock. 11 a.m.
All this before noon? Already a hell of a day.
That was Chapter 2 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her, the second novel in the Adventures of Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus on Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. Well, Alibi has a new assignment. Alibi Jones with the new assignment to find the missing artifact, the missing treasure. The artifact that disappeared at the wedding as Laveillur's men kidnapped Katie and killed Kit's bride Trish. The titular, I think it's titular, sunrise of her. Anyway. But he's been warned. Alibi's been warned now by his aunt and, of course, by Mr. Peterson last time around. Don't go near Laveillur and don't set foot on his world, the planet Kismet. And he's not allowed to do this while looking for the sunrise of her either. And he's got a week. So not a lot of time. But we'll join the investigation on our next episode with Chapter 3 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Her coming up on Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. And a reminder on book news, Smashwords Read an eBook Week sale is coming up. The annual sale is March 2nd through the 8th at smashwords.com. Just look for me, Mike Luoma, or Alibi Jones, or Vatican Assassin, or Star-Lord and the Guardians of the Galaxy, and you'll be able to track down my books. Or follow the link in the show notes. I'm going to have the Chronological Omnibus from Alibi and the Vatican Assassin trilogy under one cover, as well as the new Star-Lord and the Guardians of the Galaxy book, all at half price. They're all $4.99 right now, but you'll be able to get them for that week for just $2.49 for the ebook. And the ebook for the book we're listening to, The Sunrise of Her, is going to be free that whole week. That's again at the Smashwords Read an eBook Week sale, coming up March 2nd through the 8th at smashwords.com. And a big thank you to patrons who help keep this podcast going. And if you want to become one, I'd love to have you. If you want to find out more or learn more about patrons, you can go to patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio and find out more. And that is all for this week. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma. Thank you again for listening to Glow in the Dark Radio. Glow in the Dark Radio. This podcast presentation is copyright 2025 by Michael F. Luoma and is protected under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License, CC by NC-ND 4.0. Music by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his work at Incompetech.com. Mike's books are available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook, wherever you find books online. Get links and more details at glowinthedarkradio.com and mikeluoma.com. This has been a presentation of Glow in the Dark Radio.